Florida's primary today stands out because of the history it will make and, well, its top to bottom weirdness, even by Florida standards. Congressman Byron Donalds is expected to become the first African-American Republican nominee for governor. Donalds will have a massive campaign finance advantage over expected Democratic nominee, former Republican Congressman David Jolly. And if Donalds prevails, he will become Florida's first African-American governor. That's the history part. Here's just a sliver of the weirdness. The primary for Donald's House seat, that's the 19th district, features 5 candidates who have previously run for Congress in another state. 2, Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina and Chris Collins of New York, actually served in Congress. Cawthorn flamed out after 1 term. Collins resigned after pleading guilty to insider trading, but served only 2 months of a 26-month federal sentence because President Trump pardoned him in his first term. More weirdness. In the 20th district, Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running in a district that has sent an African-American to Congress every election since 1992. Wasserman Schultz shifted her race to this district after her redrawn 23rd district became more heavily Republican. One of her opponents is former Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, who jumped back into the race, stay with me now, after resigning her seat in Congress in the face of a federal indictment for stealing federal relief funds and an ethics committee investigation that found 20 violations of House rules. Another candidate in that race is Luther Campbell, otherwise known, probably better known, as Uncle Luke from the highly influential, and that's putting it mildly, 1990s rap group 2 Live Crew. 2 other African-American candidates are in that primary, and Wasserman Schultz could win if, as expected, the black vote is divided 4 ways. In the 6th district in Florida, there is a nasty Republican primary between Congressman Randy Fine, who has embraced being called Islamophobic and even questioned coexistence with Muslims. He, nevertheless, is being attacked by Dan Bilzerian, a so-called manosphere influencer who in a recent ad depicted Fine as satanic, labeled him a fat Jew, and praised Adolf Hitler. That drew immediate condemnation from House Speaker Mike Johnson and Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. By comparison, the Democratic primary in the 25th district between Congressman Jared Moskowitz, a strong supporter of Israel, and Democratic socialist Oliver Larkin, definitely not as supportive of Israel, well, it seems tame by comparison. For more on the entire Florida landscape and what to watch tonight, we are joined by CBS contributor Marc Caputo. Marc, I have a couple of scrawled notes here. 1, this marks the end of the DeSantis era, governor of Florida and political powerhouse there. I want you to address that. And also, I noted in one of your recent stories, the Republican registration advantage in Florida now is 1.5 million. In 2018, it was a Democratic advantage of 245,000. What a titanic shift.
The demographics is destiny in Florida, and Florida, by its nature, in part because it's sort of the Republican Party that Jeb Bush built, the former governor, naturally imports Republican supervoters. And over time, we're seeing what they call the big sort in American politics. Right. And Florida went red, and then it went MAGA red. So right. It is the capital of MAGAville. But DeSantis was one of the crown princes of MAGAville under the King Trump. But he committed the sin of disloyalty by deciding to run against President Trump. And that sort of sealed his fate. DeSantis really rose to power and prominence by being the guy who pushed back on the health establishment and the sort of COVID shut-in rules, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And after that play was done, he never really sort of evolved out of that. He was sort of the high school jock who, after he graduated, kept talking about
the glory days,
what a great hitter he was. And right. DeSantis, as one person told me, well, it was Matt Gaetz at the time when he was a congressman, they served with him. He had said that I'm DeSantis' friend in Congress. And I say friend because He doesn't have any other friends. He doesn't make friends. He collects sort of opponents, runs through staff. Not very popular.
How has redistricting changed primary day this day?
It's changed it in that, as your intro had pointed out, you have the shifting around, Moskowitz going to a new district, Debbie Wasserman Schultz going to a completely new district, Darren Soto, congressman from the Orlando area, probably drawn out of his seat. Right now, the Republicans have an advantage of 20-8 in this congressional delegation. If the lines hold, they think they could go from a 20-8 advantage to a 24-4 advantage. Yeah.
What about
and
Corey
that's a
Mills?
big thing.
What about Republican Corey Mills? Lots of charges.
I don't know if we're allowed to curse on the show, but
go right ahead.
A top Republican who had looked at the race said he's in real deep shit because Mills has been accused of being violent with one girlfriend and abusing another, allegedly. Threatened to release pornographic material of her and nudes of her, had a restraining order slapped against him as a result, under investigation for campaign finance irregularities or alleged ones, accused of stolen valor by allegedly inflating his record as a service member, just on and on and on and on. There is a former TV host from the Fox affiliate there named Ryan Elijah. The insiders say and they hope that Ryan Elijah will knock off Corey Mills, because if not, this is, by the way, DeSantis' old district.
It might be in play, in other words.
It might be in play. I don't want to say too much, but it might be.
So when DeSantis won for re-election, won by 18 points, there were a lot of articles written about the death of the Democratic Party statewide in Florida. Is that still true? Is there any resurgence?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's going to be any resurgence in that. You might see the margins decrease slightly, the Republican margins in the Florida House and in the Florida Senate. You might see some Democrats like Moskowitz. If a Democrat's going to win in that redrawn seat, it's going to be Moskowitz. But by and large, the Democratic Party needs a good 15 to 20-year rebuilding plan, and they're slowly recreaking back into that sort of relevance. But
still red, still MAGA, Florida. Marc Caputo, always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So much. For more on the impact of redistricting on these Florida races, I want to bring in CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, your friend and mine, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, break it down.
Hey, how are you? I can't top the stories, Major. Those are great. But I do have a map. And so here's what we got. Your redistricting in Florida should, by the numbers, net Republicans, if the partisanship holds, 3 to 4 seats. And as you guys were just mentioning, what has to happen for those lines to be drawn is that those Republican districts are not quite as Republican as they used to be. So these primaries and picking those candidates do have a lot to do with whether they can make those gains. And what I want to do is show you that in context. The Republicans are really counting on Florida because, in addition to the other places, Texas, everybody will remember, North Carolina, maybe some in Ohio, where they've had a net advantage, at least on the map, in redistricting. This is one reason why they might have a chance to hold on to the House. And yeah, Florida's a big part of that, Major.